Hello everyone, welcome to today's Novedge webinar, Introduction to SelfCAD, Discovering Hidden Features. SelfCAD is a 3D CAD web application made for makers by makers. SelfCAD creator Aaron Breuer will introduce you to the mindset of SelfCAD's intuitive interface and how to use its multi-purpose tools. You also get an introduction to using macros. He'll illustrate an efficient design flow as well as display some of the unique capabilities of SelfCAD. And as I said, Aaron Breuer is SelfCAD's presenter today. He's also the president and CTO of SelfCAD. He is the brains behind SelfCAD and directs all development. And let me tell you a little bit about Novedge. Novedge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best offers, faster service, and most importantly, no headaches. And this is the SelfCAD product page that you can find at novedge.com. Come check us out. Now, without further ado, I'm going to share Aaron's screen and start the presentation. Okay, take it away, Aaron. Aaron's first time presenter for Novedge. We're very excited. We can see your screen. Take it away.
Yes, so thank you, Barbara, and hello, everyone. As Barbara said, I'm the first time presenting, so I expect a lot of questions at the end, I guess, hopefully, and we'll have time to answer them. Barbara said I'm going to introduce the mindset and the reusable tools. What that means is just to get to understand the flow, how it's used, and how things are a little bit different than another software in the sense that the
broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Oh, okay. I got interrupted. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
Aaron. Go on.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
All good.
Okay. So basically the flow is with SelfCAD is a standard flow where you start creating stuff and then you start creating more advanced stuff. So you have like the very basic stuff and then you have more advanced shapes and then you start drawing, which is the more advanced stuff, and so on and so forth. It goes in a standard flow where you have basic transformations and deformations and so on. What I'm going to show at the moment at this lecture is mostly going to show how you can use the combination of basic shapes and drawing plus some of the more tools. So the basic transformations are from here and the flow goes to kind of get more advanced, but you also have utilities which kind of has similar overlapping functions from transformations. And those are basically that I'm going to touch. And then a little bit of advanced tools, which is copy offset, which is the macros. So I think with that said, I'll get started and start showing it. Okay, so whenever you add something in the scene, you can just drag and drop, or you can simply click on it and customize it. So in this case, I'm going to use this. I'm going to start by adding something that I have over here, a box of 300. I'm going to add the thickness would be 25 would be the height, and the depth would be 50. And I'm going to position it by 300 on the scene over here. And that's it. I'm going to finalize it. Now I'm going to create using macros. I'm going to create a staircase on this. And what you see over here, I can start adding multiple options. And I can also go use a macro that already saved. You can save macros. In this case, you already saved it. Just to explain what this is doing, this is moving the position by 12.5 higher because I'm scaling it by 25. So I need to move it. It's scaling it symmetrically. So I need to move it just by half of it. And then I'm moving it by the same width by 25. And then I'm making 9 copies. So that said, if you do something like this, SelfCAD will always select what you just worked with. So in this case, everything, all of these were just created. This is selected, and this one is not selected, so I need to select this one as well. And then I'm going to go to Stitch and Scoop and just go to the Union option, the Boolean, and that's confirmed, and that is closed. Now I can finalize this macro. If you look at the geometry over here, you can see we have triangles, and my goal is now to move this up, and this triangle gets in the way. So SelfCAD has a very interesting resolution tool, which will allow you to add resolution, but also to reduce it. In this case, I need to make it to 0. So in this case, I reduced everything. In order to make it the proper slope, I need to add edges over here. So what I'm going to do is there is an add detail tool, and I'm going to drag this down and I'm positioning it over here. And then to get an exact measurement, I can type in 25, which gives it the exact same height. I'll do the same thing over here. There's a way you can you can just move it without dragging, but then it may jump. Sometimes it's not as good. Or you can just click on the edge and drag it. Then you can see it live update in the measurement box below. And also it gives you more control. But in this case, I'm typing in 50. And then before I finalize, I want to explain that SelfCAD has two types of tools. There's a tool which is kind of isolated, it lives in its own function. And in that case, all other tools will either be grayed out or will tell you you have to finalize or cancel. And this is one of them. And you have some tools we'll show later, for example, drawing. We have two types of drawing, freehand and 3D sketch, where you see later 3D sketch can live with the combination with applications, and you don't have to finalize while freehand drawing is working that way. But with that said, we have added this detail now. So SelfCAD has this intuitive selection where you can just click what you want to select. So I'm going to select this edge, and I'm going to go to a tool that is called Snap. And SelfCAD will always find the middle point. Even there's no vertex over here, but it finds the middle point, and I'm just snapping it to this. But now I snapped it, I clicked again, so I snapped it the wrong place. Snap here, and I can exit snap. And now I have here duplicated vertices, so I can go to Util again, and it has a remove duplicates. If I click remove duplicates, it asks me if I want to lose my selection. This is many tools, so I can say remember, and this will basically give me a message now. It removed how many details it removed. I just want to give a general idea about the utilities. So you see this is the logical divider, and this is the flow and some other tools as well, where they behave differently. Those are basically transformation related, and those are more functional related. And we'll see on other tools and a similar flow that tells you the difference. The snap tool is also a multi-purpose tool, which you can use different things. So for example, if I want to snap this to the floor, you can kind of go over here in the advanced settings and magnet, and I can kind of set this over here, and then I can click over here and I can flatten it. So, and it has other functions. We can collapse vertices. Most of these tools are basically multi-purpose tools, and multi-purpose tools means that it will act based on context and what you have, and that's how the options will show you how it will work. In this case, I'm going to position this to the center, so I can double click and move, or I can just open it and then click the button center object, and this will center it, and this will help me later with measurements. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the railing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the drawing, and I'm going to go to 3D sketch. And in 3D sketch, I'm going to draw a line. So let's first hide this away. And as you can see, everything here is available, all of the features, while I'm in the sketch mode. And I'm going to draw a line. You have over here, you have precision settings. So I'll make sure that I can snap to my grid vertices, and I'll make sure that I can draw straight lines. So my minimum angle setting 15 should be enough. So I'll start drawing by, I think over here, I'll start drawing from here, and I'll type in the length of 200. And before I do that, actually, I need to change that because I need to add more edges to it. I'm going to add 6 edges to this line, make sure I have enough edges, and I'll make it 200. And then I'm going now to use an arc where I'm going to snap from this point to this point, and I'll enter the bulge factor of 5. And I'll do the same over here, snap from here to here, and move the bulge factor of 5. Now you can see this is another thing that SelfCAD is a little bit different than other applications. In most applications, you would need, if you want to remove these details over here, you would need to go to a trim function, a function called trim. And SelfCAD actually, you can use the polygon selection, which will allow you to select a finding minimum cycle polygons. In this particular case, minimum cycle was 1 line. In many cases, it could be bigger arcs. For example, if you want to select the entire arc, you see the minimum cycle will find the entire arc. Whereas if you go to the edge mode, it will find just pieces. In this case, this is also the entire piece arc, but you can see in this case, it selects just a single part of the edge, whereas this mode will select the entire edge, and so on, complete polygons. Now I'm going to use this to create the first part. We'll be using Revolve, but I want to also first to make a copy of this, and I can actually let's exit this mode and go to regular mode. And I'm going to drag copy just to make a copy, drag copy. And I can use 2 versions. I need only 1, but just to show the difference. I'm going to draw now a line and make it back to 1. I don't need more details now. And I'm going to drag out a line. I'll type in, let's say, 10, and I'll move it down, type in 200 and 200, and then snap it to here as well. And I'm finished with that. So now we're going to use Revolve. First, I'm going to use this one just to show the basic details. And most applications, when you go to the Revolve tool, you need to select some point, an edge to revolve around. In this case, you can see this already revolved automatically around this particular, it finds automatically an edge. So if it tries to find an edge way to revolve around, you see I had to flip the normals. It depends on the orientation. So that's why we have this tool. You can see if it needs to flip it or not. In case you finalize without flipping normals, you can always go to flip normals from utils, and you can always visualize if it's missing flip normals from here, backface calling, which will show you. So I'm going to finalize this, and I want to show something that once you finalize this case, it found the details, but you see it made it open. There's a hole inside, and it's open. So now I have basically two options. I can add thickness to it, which I can add it negative or positive. So let's say negative. I'm not sure how much space I have here, but you see over here, it added the thickness, and there's still a hole, but this is manifold. Another option would be I can just fill polygons, which in this case would make more sense. I'm not going to go to fill polygons. Now let's show you how it will work in the other case. In this particular case, let's deselect everything. I click on this one. If I go to Revolve now, this will again try this one. It depends also the place where it's on the screen, if you need to flip normals. In this case, it also detects it automatically, but now I'm going to go to revolve around an edge, and I'm going to select actually this edge to revolve around, and you see you kind of get the same results. I added a little bit more thicker, so it's a little bit thicker. I need to scale it down, but the result is almost the same. So you have this option revolve around edge, but you can also actually draw an edge. If you don't have this extra edge, you can just go and draw an edge. So let's just show you. If I draw, for example, the same location, the results would be expected results would be the same. If I want to finalize now, the difference would be that if I did it this way, you will have it a nicely closed, and actually the faces in this case would look much nicer than you see over here for polygon. So, but for now I'm actually going to use the first one, and I want to show another thing. I added the 6 edges, so I used 2 of them to create the arc, but the other one was over here as well, and Revolve will always use the edges. So if you added edges, it will give me this. I can do resolution 0 to remove it, but in this case, I actually want to keep it. So I'm going to activate over here, and I'm going to move. There's a tool here called loop selection. And in loop selection, I can basically select this. You can also use custom patterns if you want to select every second and so on. But in this case, this is good. And I'm going to scale this up a little bit. I'm selecting X and Y, so both scales the same. And I'll make it just a little bit to give it some detail. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale the same way the front and the bottom, but if you see, if I go to faces, it will start selecting the digital faces. So I'm going to switch to polygon, and I'm selecting the entire polygon. And each of these modes have advanced settings. So if you open up the setting over here, and in polygon, for example, you have a tolerance level that in case it's not 100% straight, you can still select them. And so let's go over here. I'm going to scale this as well. Let's say I'll do the same thing, just enter at 15. I'm not particularly focused on design, it's mostly just to show the tools. So you may come up with a better design, obviously. And now I'm going to rotate this by 90 degrees around my X. You see over here. So I'm rotating it by 90 degrees, and I got the basic shape done. So now what I need to do is I'm going to position that, make a copy of it. And all I care about is positioning. So let's first see, I'm going to unhide this. So I need to snap it over here. So I can go to Align tool, but in this case, Snap tool would actually be better. And I'm going to simply snap it over here. So I'm going to readjust it in a minute. So I'm not going to focus now on the height. My main focus now would be to make a copy and make sure the distance between them is the way I expect them. So I can drag a copy the way I did it before, just simply holding down my control key and drag. But I can also use the move tool, and I can move it. This gives you much more control. So you can also see you have this green line that shows you it's aligned perfectly. So what I care about is the distance between them to make sure they're kind of the distance that I want. And I can measure it exactly, but I think for now that will be fine. And now I'm going to go to the same macros that I did before, copy offset. And I'm going to reload my same macro that I saved before, but I'm actually going to need to make some changes. Because in this case, I still need 9 copies, but I need to move it up by 25 because I'm going to delete the size. And I'm going to make the copies. So now I have all of these copies. I'm still going to select now the same thing, the first 2, and I'm going to merge them. First going to merge them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to center them again. This will position it perfectly fine, but I actually will need, now I can move it up. Position will position everything. Now I can move it up to, I know the height is 25, so I'll leave it stuck in by 5. So this should do it for now. Now what I need to do is I'm going to create the handrail, and this is a little bit more complicated because I need to create the angle. So I can measure the angle. Let me show you how I can measure the angle. I'll go to measurement tool, and I can go to start measuring from here to here, actually to the bottom, and then measure here. So it gives me, oh, I'm sorry, I did the wrong angle. I need to measure from here to here. And, oh, I did the length. Okay, that's my fault. Okay, I did angle. I need to measure from angle, so that actually should be fine. So I need to measure this way. It's 26.57. So I can go and add a new cube, the 26.57, position with this angle, but I'm going to use now drawing actually to show a better way how I can actually do this and something unique for SelfCAD. So I'm going to 3D sketch again. And what I'm going to do is to go to the plane settings. And in plane settings, I'm gonna rotate around my, let's say it's around the X by 26.57, 26.57. And now I'm going to snap it. So once I get the angle, proper angle, now I need to snap it. So I need to snap it to the center. So I can snap it to this point. We have 5. I think I snap it over here. Let's see. I'm just going to snap this plane over here. Okay. So now basically I have this snap to this top. I can go to the simple rectangle and I'll start drawing a rectangle from here to here and just drawing it down. And I can enter, I could have measured the length. I measured before, I think it was 560 something, but for now I'm just gonna, let's see what did I do. Oops, I finalized it. Let's move it down and okay. So I'm using this and now I have this. So now what I'm going to do is this looks like it's positioned correctly. So I'm going to extrude that. I can fill polygons now and then extrude, but I can also on a simple shape like this, you can just extrude it as well. So I'm going to extrude it by 20 and now I'm going to fill polygons. I'm going to fill it and now you got this positioned relatively okay. And I just need to make a copy of it. But before I do so, I'm going to add a fillet to it. I'm going to add some details. Let's say I'll make it 5 and add number over here 5. And as you can see, it added nicely, it rounded nicely, and so on. You could fillet. All of these tools are reusable, so you can actually make fillet or chamfer on the profile as well. But I think the polygon structure would be better if you first make it on the mesh. So yeah, that's why I did it this way. So now I'm just need to repeat the same idea. I need to make a copy for the other side and drag a copy, and I moved it not the same, so I need to adjust that. So let's see. I'm going to look first at this one. This is another way. If the tool opens up, if you're going to deselect, the tool will close. So if you need to, let's say I want to select this one, I'm going to select this and then click on this deselect. This will allow the tool to stay open. So this tells me this is on the X of 125. So I need to change this on the X negative 125, because if it's centered, I can measure that way. So negative 125, and that should be the same position. Now I need to change the Z-axis as well. So let's see where this is located by 4.48. So I'll do the same. 4.48. Okay, so now that we had these two selected, I just want to make sure it's actually intersecting. It goes in, so I'm going to the wireframe and see if I need to move it down a little bit. It actually looks, it's done nice. It's well done. So now I can just select these, and I'm going to make a Boolean of them and combine them. Okay, so this is done. So now what I need to do is I'm going to add some base for this, and I'm going to show some additional tools. I didn't, so I'm going to hide away this part. Let me move this out of the way. I'm going to hide this, and I can actually hide other parts as well. Okay, I can hide everything. I can click isolate, but now isolate will first bring back everything. I have to click twice. Let's see, so, or just hide this away. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is the first selection. I'm going to show two ways actually what I can do. So the first thing is I'm going to go to the wireframe mode, wireframe plus mesh, and I'm going to loop select, turn on, select this one. What am I doing? Not this one. I'm sorry, have to select this. Okay, so I turn on this and I go to loop selection, and I'm going to select this click on its neighbor, and this selects this entire thing. And now I'm going to go to the copy offset, which will give me the same thing. Copy offset, you can enter macros, but if you enter nothing, you can make a copy and we'll just make a copy in space. If you make a copy just using the copy function, we'll actually offset it a little bit so you see the copy. So if you need to make a copy in space, this is usually the best way to make a copy. So I can actually hide away the mesh, but I can leave it also. And I'll go back to the drawing, and I'm going to reset my plane to 0, reset the angle to 0, no longer need the offset. And I'm going to draw a simple circle, and let's give it a radius of 5, small radius of 5. And now I'm going to select I need to make sure I'm going to use follow path. It matters which one you select first. So I actually made a mistake. I drew it on the same profile. So you have to uncheck in order to make a separate profile. So because I drew it in the same profile, I'll have to select it and I'll basically split it off. So I get two separate profiles. Now you have this one. So I select first this one, and then I select what I want to follow around, and I'm going to follow path on this one and preview, and this actually looks nice. So I'm adding this kind of frame around, and that's it basically. And then I need to make a copy on the other side around. So I'm just gonna copy, I can just look up over here, that's on 56.83, and I'm gonna drag copy and enter minus 156.3. Oops, this is not the same. Actually, I have to look up my object, it's no longer centered. Okay. So now let's see, I can take this, I can merge them together, but first let's see now what I'm going to hide this away as well for now. Let's just merge them for now. Oh, I have selected the profile. It doesn't allow me to merge profiles with a mesh. So now I can merge it. Deselected the profile, should be able to merge it. Okay, they are merged. Now let's hide them away. So now you saw that I created the profile using copy offset and just copy the profile. I want to show now a different way how I can actually create the profile in cases where you cannot use loop selection. Loop selection is good when you have a good structure, quads, and if you have a complex structure, loop selection wouldn't work. So the way you get this done is you can go to freehand drawing, and then freehand drawing, I'm actually going to hide the object, but before that, I have to actually rotate the object because the function I'm doing now works only in the floor plane, the bottom plane. We may change that in the future, but for now it works only in the bottom plane. So I'm going to rotate this negative 90 degree. And let's see. Okay. And now I'm going to go to the freehand drawing. Remember that I want to hide this so it's hidden. And I'm simply going to drag and drop this. What you see over here, this flattens the profile and it already creates a profile. So what Freehand Drawing is doing, Freehand Drawing, as I said before, there are tools that have a check mark icon. It works in its own way. This is one of them. It works in its own way because this is doing real-time Boolean operations, as you'll see in a minute. So it's very powerful if you want to trace something and do something. And in this particular case also, this will help me. I don't need to clip that much. You'll see in a minute the way I'll use it. But the default way, if you finalize something, will extrude it. And so I can just add the extrusion of 300, the same thickness, and it will kind of create it. But I'm going to make this actually the height settings for 0. And in that case, it will give me a profile. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to, oops, cancel, and click mistake. Okay. So now I'm going to do is I want to add some, think over here. I didn't put my minimum step size, so it's not going to be straight. So precision settings, I need to minimum angle, actually what I need. Okay. So minimum angle settings, and I could measure the exact space, but I think for now that should be fine. And I'll make it, let's say 20, and let's see, 20. And oh, I didn't make it as a, let's see. I think I went over the angle. Okay, so I have to enter 20. What did I do? Let's see, 1 second. I don't remember what I did. Press escape. So press again like this, enter 20, and I'm moving it down. Okay, so I'll enter, doesn't really matter, I can eyeball it because I'm going to then cut it out the piece. So I'm gonna add another piece over here, just why not? And I should have used a bigger angle, so because I'm getting stuck with the angle. And okay, so I'd make something like this. And now we're going to go to the eraser, and I can use a rectangle, which I'm just going to snap from this point to simply erase like this. So you see, I get it straight. So if I would use normal drawing, I would kind of have to make this with a few clippings, and also you can flatten this, which is quite an interesting way of doing it. So now I can get rid of the other object to hide it out of the way. So let me deselect everything, select this, and hide it. I need to hide this object as well. Okay, and this I'm going to rotate back. So I rotate it back by 90 degrees. So now I can do a few things. I can just fill polygons and then add thickness to it and extrude it. But I'm going to use now the Loft tool, because Loft tool has a lot of advanced features, and in many cases that would be the best way of doing it. So now I'm just going to drag a copy. In this case, actually, I can just use the scale to give me the size, because you can't scale a profile in this direction. So if I enter the size over here, 300, it will actually just make the distance. So in this case, saves me at least positioning. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go to the Loft tool, and Loft basically has options to fill settings. You can have a closed loft, you can fill which direction you want to fill. You can kind of leave it open, then add thickness and different options. For now, I just want to fill both of them. You can add the smoothness, which if I add 5, this means it will have 5 directions in this way. So if you want to add some more details, that would be good. But for me, 1 would be fine in this case. So basically, here we go. We added this with some leggings, I guess, some legs. So now I can bring back a tool, but I want to do one more thing. So the same idea I did for adding this one. So actually, first let's position it. Let's center the object. And then if I take this part, it's also centered. Okay, so this is correct. So what I'm going to do now is show another idea what you can use with the Loft tool. It can do, follow path tool. You can do a lot of things, but in this case, I'm going to go to the drawing again, and I'm going to draw a rectangle, small rectangle. That's in 3D Sketch. And it doesn't really matter where I position it. So I'm just going to position it over here. Let's say 20. I have to click 20 gives it the size, and then I have to drag it out. So I'm going to make it a size by 200, let's say. And now I'm going to go to a circle, and I'm going to snap it from the center to, actually, I wanted to snap it from the center over here. So SelfCAD will always show you a center point, and then I'm snapping it to the bottom, to the other end. So the same thing, I snap it from the center, and then I snap it to the other end. So, and now I'm just gonna go to clip out these pieces, trim them away. And now if I can reuse the same profile that I had before, so let's say if I take this profile, and I'll go now to follow path, you see we kind of get an object like this. Let's show how it looks like. This is kind of like this. So if I position that, you see the circular gave it this kind of move, but this is a little bit too thick. The idea from this is to position on top of this a little smaller, where I can put a different texture, maybe a carpet or tiles, but this is a little bit too thick, so I can probably reduce the size of this. So let's just reduce the size, and I'm going to scale it in the X direction. I've selected this as well to deselect this. So the X is, the Z direction is this 20, so let's make it by 10. But the other thing is also I don't need that to wrap around the entire thing, so I'm going to delete pieces from this actually. So what I'm going to do is, and this is where I can show you actually how it works, the selection piece, because if I go a polygon selection, it will find the entire thing as a minimum polygon cycle. If I go edges, I'll kind of have to trim each edge, which will take me a lot of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna take this part. Maybe I needed to clip in the bottom part. So I'll take, will be nice. So I'll take away this part from as an edge, and I'll take away this part, and I'll click delete. And now this entire thing should be found as a solution as a polygon. With the polygon setting, which is minimum cycle. Okay, so now I'm deselecting this because I need to first select the thing I'm going to rotate around, and I'm going to use again follow path, and this basically creates this. So I'm just going to center this onto the object, and I have selected something else, so the center doesn't work. I have to deselect it, make sure I've selected only this. Okay. Okay. So here you go. So now what the idea about this is, if I'm going to add, let's bring back this. Okay. So if I'm going to take, let's say, select this and this, let's merge them. And I can do a Boolean also, but for now merge should be fine. And I'm going to add a texture. Let's make it look wood. The texture, as I have to say, is just kind of in the middle. I have to select this part as well. So let's select this part, and let's say I have this. These two are set together. Let me make sure. So these, and then I have this. So let's just merge them also. The texture is just, oh, remember the texture actually, but not the entire thing. So let me just update that. I'm going to remove, I'm not sure what it is. Oh, default cannot be removed. So over here, clear texture, and I'm going to add in a texture. The texture is in, we're going to add rendering, so that will be completely updated. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it's basically just the idea. And then I'm going to deselect this, select this piece, and make sure everything else is deselected. And I'm going to add, let's say, for now, let's say some stone, make it look something like this. And now go back to regular mode to see. So this is basically how you created this. Yeah, so you see it's kind of like if you want to put tiles, so texture and just adding the thickness. So that's basically it for this. I may have missed a few things, but if I still have time, Barbara, how much time do I still have?
Yeah, no, it's up to you really. It's yeah, we still have as much as you need.
So I think I'll go first the questions, see if anyone has any questions.
There's no question, but I want to urge everybody to, yes, type them in the question tab. This is your chance to speak with the man himself and ask him all you want to know. And actually, you just got good feedback, great feedback. Like looks perfect. And so please ask away. While we wait, maybe, yeah, you can proceed.
Yeah, so I'm going to show actually a little bit, I'm going to hide everything away and just to show a little bit the drawing, the differences between the drawing. So if I'm going to go to freehand drawing, so if I'm going to go, let's say, for example, create a simple box like this, and then I want to create another piece, let's say, like this, and then I'm going to create, let's say, a rectangle and whatever, cutting up like this. I'm just doing something random, and then erase something like this. If you're going to finalize this, this will basically just create you the height and already create you clip this out. If you want to do the exact same thing in 3D Sketch, and that's with any application, so it's just different the way we trim, the way you've seen we select. But if you want to do something like this in different applications, you would kind of need to, you can draw the same idea, but you would need to kind of, let's say, select something like this. And I wanted to make it in, but I'm snapping vertices. I have to turn off snap to grid vertices. That's why I get this kind of strange, just small angles, but that should be understood for now. Okay, so if I do something like this, I will need to start trimming away. And if I want to make the hole, actually, this will be even more difficult because I can't trim away now. If I delete this, this will basically already delete the hole. So I need to first fill polygons. And then once I fill polygons, then I can go and select this. So now I have polygon mode, so I go to face mode, and then I can start selecting this case. In this particular case, this is a small, just one quad, it's easy to delete. But in some other cases, this would be more difficult to delete, which you have a function in the polygon mode, you have a function part. So you can start selecting parts. But then if I want to do the same idea, this basically is the same. I can then go to, I can start clipping if I don't want something, and then I can go to remove duplicates, which will actually remove the resolution, which will actually remove the extra data that I don't need. But yeah, it may not be a very good example, but that's basically the idea. What I did before, and that's why 3D freehand drawing is kind of lives in its own way. You can't really combine it with other tools. If you need to modify some drawings and not 3D Sketch freehand drawing, it has its own move tool. So you can start drawing something, and then you can basically, you can also draw something like this, but then you can go to move points, and you can just start moving the points from here, selecting them and start adjusting them and moving them the points away. This has a lot of details here, but you can see, you can start dragging this away and so on. So that's basically the idea, what you have with freehand drawing. What I did before is flatten something. I took a mesh. You can same thing, take and drag in a profile, or take in a mesh and flatten it. That's a powerful feature where you can reconstruct profiles from complex objects. It's limited to, I think, about 100,000 faces at this point. So I had some cases where I've done it for 1 million polygons. And what I did in that case was I first went to the flatten tool, and I flattened it completely. And then I went to remove duplicates, which removed most of the details I have, the extra details. And then I reduced it to the 100,000 limit, and I got it. But this is kind of a underused tool. It's really powerful the way to kind of reverse engineer a lot of complex profiles and so on. That's why I use it. What I do see our users are using this feature freehand drawing is mostly the brush tool. The main idea of brush tool is that you can already add the thickness. So if you want to trace any architectural design or anything else, you can already set your wall thickness, and then you just start drawing, and this will kind of give you the details. And so instead of trimming away, so obviously I didn't make the measurements now, but you can see it creates the whole inside. And yeah, that's the most feature, but I use it quite a lot with other things as well, and the way I used it before. That's basically it. Any other questions? Anyone has a question?
Yes, yes, Aaron, thank you. Could you use SelfCAD for designing an entire house layout?
Theoretically, yes. I mean, there's no reason why not, as you can see with these tools. Yeah, answer is yes.
Great. That's
rendering is something that we will, house, you need rendering. I have to touch, I said a little bit before about rendering. We are working on a rendering engine. That's our highest priority now. We hope to have them in the next, probably next 3 months or sooner. And in that case, it should be basically done. If you want to do design a house, I'll show you some other examples which people designing a house may need a lot. You can work the same idea as sketching, but you can also use these tools, for example, inset, and you can, not the entire thing, but if you want to select, let's say, cut out windows, you can select, let's say, this profile, this face, and let's say inset that with a certain, let's say, 20. And then once I finalize this, I can extrude that. If I extrude to the negative exact amount as here, so I know this is size 100, so I make it minus 100, and I finalize it, this actually will cut it out. So you can actually use it to cut. We have other ways of cutting. You can draw profiles on the object. So if you go to 3D Sketch, one of the options here is object. Once you click on object, you can start drawing on object and it will automatically wrap. And then you can start using a cut with profile. If you have selected a profile and an object, you can just cut out any random piece as long as it's intersecting edges. So you can draw a line from edge to edge and cut it, or you can draw a polygon. You can draw something empty space that is not a polygon, but any polygon could be any shape and you can start cutting away. So that's also used a lot. And then add details, which I've used before, but add details, actually, I want to show maybe another example with add details, how this could be used. So the example that I used for this profile, I believe, was it? Not this profile, sorry. So it was my, where is it? Oh, this one. So I used this profile. Okay, so let me just isolate this one. Oops, I isolated everything. This is selected. I'm isolating this. Okay, what did I do? Let me just hide all. Hide all and just show what I wanted to show. So I want to find this profile. Okay, and the thing that I followed, which is this one. So I did it in a way like this. If you want to add details to it, I showed before add details actually added the edge. So if you want to go, for example, add details over here, and I can add a vertex now, and I'll snap it to the center. Let's say I'm adding a vertex over here, and now I'm going to move it. Go to the move tool. Let me turn on my vertex mode so I can see what's happening. I'm selecting this, and I'm going to move this, kind of give it, let's say, a certain angle. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing, selecting this profile, and do follow path and preview. Now you can see that this actually got, I have to rotate the profile. It's hard to see the angle. Okay, I did it the other side. I have to bend the other side of the profile or rotate the profile. So let me just do the other side as well. So I'm gonna add detail to this and snapping over here. And I'm going to select this part, confirm this. I'm going to select this part. Okay. Okay, so now you see what I wanted to show. It actually can add bends. So basically created kind of this slope that you can add. So there's a lot of interesting tools which you can use in construction, other stuff, which is not, I'm not sure how easy it would be in other applications. The idea where I said reusable tools and hidden features, which the example is also copy offset. Besides the fact you can use it for macros, it also has other tools. For example, pivot is used a lot as a separate tool, which is quite a nice feature. Has a mirror feature, which behaves a little bit different than the mirror we have in utils. Both of them very helpful. So, but yeah, that's basically, and then it has, besides these are more, I guess what I've shown today may be interesting for architectural design, but it has also for artists, has sculpting and a lot of deformations, which all of them will work on profiles and a mesh. Everything will work in a mesh. Reshape tool is a very powerful tool, but it's still under construction. It's kind of in beta, reshape tool. So, but this is very helpful to import existing objects and reshape anything.
Cool.
You can construct objects from image to 3D, and yeah, add animation, a lot of other stuff, but still hidden. Yeah.
Wonderful. And actually, so I want to let everybody know that next week we're going to have a repeat webinar with you, and specifically about working with profiles, correct?
Yes.
Great. So mark your calendars and spread the words. And the other question was, I think you already answered it, was about the rendering engine and the rendering. So I think there's, you're in development and there's news coming in the next 3 months, you said, so that's very exciting. And the question, that's it for question for us. So I'm going to, if you're done with the presentation, Aaron, tell me if that's the case. I'm going to take the screen back, and I finally want to show everybody where you can find SelfCAD on the Novedge product page. And as you can see, there's the 1 month subscription option and the 12 months. So check it out. It's a very simple tool that does very complex operation. And I'm very excited for next week's demo with you. So stick around and join us again 1 week from now. And I want to remind you that I've been recording the presentation, so you can watch it again on YouTube and Vimeo. Just search for Novedge. Thanks again for joining us today. And thank you so much, Aaron. This was very, very interesting. And your presentation got a lot of positive feedback. So we're eager for more.
Thank you. It's the first time, so I hope satisfied everyone. But yeah, I'm usually a tech person sitting in the office, but yeah.
You did great. Thanks. And looking forward to next week already. Bye-bye, everybody.